With the ban of Halqifibrax, we're finally out of what I affectionately like to call the dual overlaid format, with this ban representing the last of the overpowered link monsters introduced in that set. Well, except Bagda. I started playing Yugioh again right around when this set released, and it's warped every format and Banlist since. I mean, seriously, just look at how many banned cards came from this set. And while we all knew that Halq would eventually be banned, it is a little bittersweet to see it finally go, and for the game to finally move away from all the broken dual overlaid links to, well, whatever the hell's going on in this format. One deck that will really miss Halq is the P.U.N.K deck. Even after it stopped doing stuff with Auroradon, it could still do a bunch of cool stuff by combining Halq with Chaos Ruler, who, as we know, is also banned. Rest in peace, Chaos Ruler. You'll be missed more than the Queen. So what do P.U.N.Ks do after these bans? Well, they're a resilient deck, I can tell you that. Right now, they're best at making Bishbaalkin with very little effort, which, in case you didn't know that card, it just gives you 5 tokens. Well, it also gives the opponent 5 tokens, but we'll get back to that soon. What do you do with those tokens? Well, if you're boring but enjoy just winning, you can go for an FTK. You swap some cards around with Geonator Transverser, and then burn them with that Chronomaly card, and then you're good to go. But not only is that not very interesting to play, but also you can't do the full combo with just P.U.N.K. You need some other level 5 monster in your hand to make it work. So what do we do with Bishbaalkin's token spam? It's simple. We make reptiles. Now if you're a long-time watcher of this channel, you might remember my Alien Ogdoadic deck profile, which used Bishbaalkin to get out a bunch of big Ogdoadic monsters as well as some aliens. But we can do way better than that. Not only do we end on Alien Kid and Zavol, which forces any special summon monster into defense position as well as negating their activated effects, but that lock is protected by an IP Avramax, all backed up by Amnesia, who gets to send a card from your opponent's field. But also, we draw 5 cards after thinning the deck a ton, almost guaranteeing that we draw into our Therion engine. Because you know, Therions have a reptile monster, remember? This also clears your opponent's tokens because we don't want your opponent to keep 5 tokens. All of this is possible off just Xiamen and a discard, which means we have 12 copies of it, or even 15 with Small World. Needless to say, it's a lot more consistent than needing to hard draw Nunu. And you know the really funny part of this? It's a reptile deck that doesn't use the Ogdoadic engine to do its plays. Turns out Echidna and Shock Trooper M-Frame were the MVPs all along. Who would have thought? Well, let's take a look at the deck now to show how it works. Here's the deck. Since this is technically a P.U.N.K deck, let's start with those. As usual, you just want a billion copies of Xiamen, so you run 3 of her, 3 Aegodance, 3 Foxy Tune, and then 1 Deonate for your combos. You then also run 3 emergency teleports for doing the full combo without your normal summon, or for some fun extension, and then you have a choice. You can either run 3 copies of Small World, which you can bridge between most other monsters in this deck to get you an Aegodance, which is of course another Xiamen. But if you want to trade a bit of consistency for a higher ceiling, you could instead replace them with a Sharakusai, a Madame Spider, and a Dangerous Gabu. This allows you a bit more flexibility, and you'll end with another interruption, but you might brick a bit more often. It's up to you, and I'll show an example using Sharakusai, so you can decide for yourself. Now the reptiles. You might be seeing these 6 one-off cards and thinking that's immediately way too bricky of a deck, but the truth is it doesn't actually matter if you draw any of them in your starting hand. The reason I run these 6 is because it's the fewest you can run while still getting the most out of Echidna's search of 5 reptiles. And they all have their uses, but you could also cut one of the level 2 Reptilians and also the Ogdoadic if you really wanted to run less of them, but I wouldn't advise it. When you end up using Echidna's search, you'll be adding 5 to your hand, which is all of them except Alien Kid, which we search later. Coatl then summons itself, Nyami, and Lamia from the hand. Then the Therion is also a free special summon for your alien links while also being a target for Regulus later. And then Amnesia is a good discard for M-Frame since it can summon itself back later. In some formats, Aron might be better, but making your opponent discard a card will probably just trigger Tearlament cards, so you don't really want that. Anyway, you'll get to see all these reptiles in action soon, so just trust me. Then we're on to the Therions. Since we get locked out of non-reptile extra deck monsters fairly early on, we rely on the main deck monsters for our Omni Negate, hence the Therion engine of 3 Regulus, 3 Colosseum, and also the 1 Alasia. Your deck will be pretty small after searching 5 cards and doing your combos, so you have a pretty good chance of drawing into one of your 6 Regulus. Add in a Terraforming if you really want to bring those odds up more. Now again, since we draw 5 cards in the combo, we don't really want to be just drawing more punks that we can't summon, or just more copies of reptiles that we won't use, so instead we run a bunch of very versatile cards. Droplets is great and you'll easily have the discard fodder, and Super Poly and its targets do help you break boards quite well. Being quick play spells also means that you get to set them if you're going first, and they're still pretty useful. Then for going first, 3 Solemn Judgment is a really good draw, keeping your back face safe from stuff like Lightning Storm or Harpy's Feather Duster, and DD Crow is also a fairly decent hand trap that's also a Small World bridge. You can replace this with something else if you don't actually want to play Small World though. When you know you're going first, you can side out DD Crow or something like that for a Deck Devastation Virus, which will allow you to wipe out your opponent's spells, making your alien lock much stronger. In future though, depending on the format, you might want to just go harder into hand traps and swap out some of these cards for stuff like Ash Blossom or whatever else you might need. So now for the extra deck. To start off with Super Poly targets, I just went with Dragostapelia, Garura and Mud Dragon, but adjust these to be whatever is best in the format. Then you do want a Rising Carp if you're running Sharakusai, allowing for easier OTKs and more flexible combos. I like it, but you could try a Psychic End Punisher instead if you really don't want to try and play it. Then we have our Synchros. Magma to go into Bishbaalkin, and then Hydra to draw 5 while clearing out your opponent's token. Amazing Dragon helps going second and in some certain niche combos, while Melusine is easy to make and then Tribute as a cost for Deck Devastation Virus when you side that in. Now for the links, we usually go through all of them in one combo. Reaprodocus makes a token into a reptile, to go into Echidna he searches 5 reptiles, and then we make a Masquerena to go into a protected Avamax, who stops anyone from beating over Alien Kid. Zerol is your main floodgate, and M-Frame puts A counters on the field while discarding an Amnesia, ideal for getting the extra normal summon from Zerol. So that's the deck, but you really need to see it in action to understand it. So onto the combos. So as promised, I'll start off with a combo using only Xiamen and any discard. But first, if you've been enjoying the video so far, make sure to like it and subscribe to the channel. So first we start by getting a Bishbaalkin out on the field. We accomplish this by summoning a Xiamen, searching a Foxy Tune, using her to discard our fodder and summon a Geonote, as those two making a Geomathmech Magma. Geonote allows you to summon back the Foxy Tune, and so, with a level 8 Synchro Tuner and another level 8, we make a Bishbaalkin in the extra monster zone. That summons 10 tokens, 5 to each field. With the token and our Synchro, we make a Reaprodocus and declare Reptile. That lets us make Echidna, but before we use her effect, we first make an IP Masquerena and go into an Avamax. Now we use Echidna, searching all 3 Reptilians, our Ogdo deck of choice, and Alasia. We're now locked into reptiles for our extra deck. Karatal summons itself and both Reptilians, who make a Hydra, destroying the opponent's tokens and drawing 5. Since this is just a test hand, which clearly wasn't shuffled, we draw a lot of redundancy, while in real life we'd probably be drawing some pretty good interruptions here. What matters though is that you draw into Regulus or the field spell. Now you summon Alasia using a reptile in your graveyard, and use it to link into Zerol. Zerol now searches Alien Kid, which means you have every single reptile. Use your other monsters to summon an M-Frame, who discards Amnesia to put A counters on Avamax. Now you can summon Regulus for his Omni Negate, and remove some counters with Zerol to get Alien Kid out. To extend a bit further, we can use Regulus to summon Alasia, and tribute both it and M-Frame to get Amnesia out of your graveyard. All this to end on the Alien lock, protected by an Avamax, an Omni Negate to protect it further from back row or your opponent's normal summon, and then Amnesia, who gets to send a card your opponent controls to the graveyard if they send any card from their deck or hand to their graveyard. All this just from Xiamen's combo. So what does it look like in a real hand? Well, here we'll start with a Disc Colosseum to search Regulus, before using an E-Telly to get a Xiamen. From there onwards we start doing the regular P.U.N.K combo, going through Foxy-tune for a Dear Note, getting Magma and then Bishbaalkin. Here's some advice: if you ever do decide to play this on paper, make sure you have a lot of cards to use as tokens. Your opponent probably won't just have 10 tokens ready to go. Anyway, after our Avramax, it's time to search and get Reptile locked. We already had an alien kid, so there isn't much choice for the 5 we search. We get our special summons from Coatl, and then just for show, we chainblock Hydra's draw thanks to the Lamia, in case your opponent hadn't hand-trapped you for whatever reason. We draw a ton of interruptions, and then we can just continue our combos from there as normal, getting a Therion on the field, discarding Queen for some counters before reviving her, and then using those counters to normal summon Alien Kid. Not that we used our normal summon though, so we could have probably just got an Alien Kid anyway. Our end board is the same interruptions as last time, but with the addition of a Solemn Judgment protecting you even further, a Super Poly as well as an open zone on the field to use it, and an Impen set together with an Ash Blossom in hand. Finally, here's a version of the deck that uses Sharakusai instead of Small World. Like usual, we start with a Xiamen, but then Foxy-tune will summon Sharakusai from the deck. It will then fusion summon a Carp, who then splits into both Dear Note and Madame Spider. She searches Dangerous Gabu, giving you another interruption. From this point onwards is the regular combo, going into Bishbaalkin and getting an Avramax before your Reptile plays. From Hydra's draws, we get a Colosseum, so we can search Regulus. One little thing to note is that, instead of using Alasia's extra effect on Regulus to get summoned from the back row, we can instead use E-Telly to get another material on board. That allows us to get Queen on the field while keeping Regulus's extra attack, and you can then use that effect later on if you need the extra body on the field. We end on the Alien Lock, Queen Send, Regulus's Omni Negate, an Ash Blossom, and then a Judgment, a Droplet, a Dangerous Gabu, and a Super Poly. Not bad for the supposedly unplayable Reptile Extra Deck monsters. And so that's the deck. Will you try out some Reptiles in your P.U.N.K deck, or will you just stick to the FTK? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe. Special thanks to my tier 3 patron Distran. The link to that is in the description. Thanks for watching!